So, hi Maureen, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Jenny. Very well.
So, thank you very much for today, just to come and support the group because Maureen is someone that I know for a while. And can you tell us a bit more about you? Because I won't do your introduction because I will be maybe a bit biased or something like that. So maybe I will let you introduce yourself to all these people following us.
I think we must know each other close to 10 years, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey.
Yes, exactly.
So I am a HR professional. I work in Mauritius. I've been here for 16 years. I'm in the financial sector, and my whole career has been in the financial sector, but not always in HR. So I know quite a lot about the Mauritian environment. I've also worked in the UK. Spent about my working career about 15 years or more working in the UK, purely London based. And then I moved to a part of our business that was looking after Africa, and I had some exposure around the African continent, which was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had, apart from the one I'm in right now.
Wow, it's quite rich. And I have a little question for you. You've been in Mauritius for 16 years. Do you have a particular word in Creole that you have learned us from now?
Which one would I share?
That's come to your mind.
I like this expression that things are marry this, marry bon, marry. It means like really, really, really good. And I see that people use that a lot. And the other one I hear, which I didn't know what it meant when I first joined, was ayo.
Ayo, pas bon.
Everything is ayo, whether it's good or it's bad.
So I think that you're pure Mauritian now. If you know ayo and marry, it's good. It's all good. So Maureen, and today it's you are here, and I want to ask you some questions because there are some people following the group, and the group main motive is really to have to get really insight from different people, to get their opinions, and also experts. We are having people that are students in the group. Some people are looking for a kind of advice, or maybe maybe some tips also that can be, if you can bring to them. I have some questions, and if you're ready, we can go through these questions and you can give us some of your answers about it. So my first question is about some people they're looking for a job. The main problem is that I'm having good CV, but each time I'm in front of a recruiter, there's that problem. Where is the block? So really, how is a recruiter thinking? What is there in their mind? Are they human or not?
Okay, I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you, but I don't. But I can tell you what I look at. So first and foremost is whether the CV is good, because that tells me a lot about the candidate. And I'm a busy person, and I know a lot of the HR people are. And one thing we don't like are long CVs. So a long CV would be more than 2 pages. And if your CV is more than 2 pages, then you should look at reducing it, and you should really pick out the key information that you want the recruiter to know about you. If you've had quite a long career, you might need to condense some of that information and tailor it to the job that you're looking for. So if your job is, say, HR person in a bank, and you've worked in a bank but maybe 5 or 6 years previously, where you don't have that banking exposure, your CV can be more brief. And then maybe you want to expand on the banking exposure because this is what the recruiter is looking for. So that's one thing, is your CV has to be good, has to be relevant. Something I often see as well is CV can be fantastic, and you're expecting this godlike creature to walk into the interview. and then the whole thing falls apart because the person perhaps isn't confident, or they've not dressed for the occasion. They come, you know, a little bit looking a little bit untidy. Maybe they've not shaved that day, for example, if it's a guy. Perhaps they're not wearing a shirt and a tie, and we're in a very corporate environment. So think about who you're going to be meeting.
As far as your experience is concerned, just to come back to the grooming, can you tell me a bit more, how is the Mauritian, throughout the recruitment you have done, you have been more than 16 years in Mauritius, well, what is about the grooming? What can you say about the grooming in Mauritius? Are you satisfied with it, or?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have a lot of money to look smart. Something simple, clean, well pressed, it's enough. Turn-offs for me are people, guys is particularly wearing white socks. It's not corporate. But if your interview is not in the corporate environment, if your interview is in perhaps in the sports or in the social field, white socks, trainers, jeans, this sort of thing works. Doesn't work in a very, very corporate environment. So you've got to think, what kind of job is it? What environment am I stepping into? And dress for that environment, because that's what the recruiter's looking at. Do you fit? Do you fit from a social, physical, cultural perspective, as well as what's on your CV? So the first impression, it's a big cliche, but it's true. First impression really, really counts. And that lack of confidence with the handshake, with the eye contact, with the greeting, says a lot, especially if you're looking at a senior or semi kind of senior leadership role. Obviously, when we are hiring people without much experience, their first job perhaps, there's a lot of leeway about how they communicate, how confident they are, how they greet the recruiter. And the more senior the job is, the higher that expectation comes. I expect somebody that's going to be leading others to look me in the eye, give me a good firm handshake, and sit down and then blow me away in terms of what they've done, and not just repeat what they've got on their CV. This is also a bit of a turn off from a recruiter's perspective, because I've read your CV, I know what's on there. I need you to tell me more than what's on your CV.
And have you ever come across an experience where, you know, you have this candidate that really impressed you, you have this candidate that really said, wow, this is the good candidate, where really it was that person that you wanted to really hire, and then later on it doesn't work? Can you tell us a bit why there are some candidates that are very good in you know, going through that process of recruitment, and then they fail? Why? Can you explain?
You mean they fail once they're hired?
Yes, once they was hired. Is this because, you know, they feel that they are not giving more than they were giving? They feel that they are more comfortable now. Now it's good. I have to. It's good. The work now. I'm hired. It's good. I have a work for life.
Yeah. Well, this usually happens when somebody has overinflated their CV. An example of that would be, we've asked for, let's say, experience in project management. And somebody says, yes, I've got experience in project management. And maybe they have a little, but not very in depth. And if you are hiring and you've not asked the right question, you would expect that they've put it on their CV, therefore they've got this experience. Now, coming into the job then and realizing they have to be able to do project management end to end, and they can't. As a recruiter, you're thinking, okay, it was on your CV, told us you could do it, and now you can't. Quite often the failure is not it's the person overinflating a CV, and the hiring manager or recruiter maybe not asking that very question, or, you know, poking around in that information a bit deeper to understand the depth of knowledge. So sometimes it's a bad hiring, the recruiter has made a mistake. Other times the candidate might have, say, overinflated their ability or their knowledge. Sometimes it's culture, you know. We've had a few people that we have a lot of liberty where I work. We allow people to do what they need to do. You come in, you tell us, you know, you can do X, Y, and Z. Nobody's on your shoulder, nobody's on your back to make sure that you do it. And not everybody can flourish in that environment. Some people need to be directed and micromanaged. It's not the way that we work, but so it's really important that you know what kind of culture is it you're joining, and if it doesn't suit you, then all the CV, all the qualification, it's not going to work in the long term, and you will get frustrated and you'll leave.
Okay. Yeah. Now, these are important tips, because this is very important for you guys if you're going in an interview. I think this definitely is very important. And I will go through for another question very quickly. It's really that today we are facing a pandemic. It's very, we don't know where we are going. We are facing the unknown. We don't know what will be the future. There are lots of people, you know, looking for a job, and really they are demotivated, they're discouraged, and say that, you know, I'm doing, for example, there's some people doing some studies in hospitality or any other field. It's all like any field that you're looking for is really that there's a known. They don't know that if they will hire people. These people are really afraid. And you today, as an HR professional, what will you tell them? What will you advise them, particularly these people that are, you know, feeling that sense of fear and saying that there's no future for me?
Well, it's true. It's going to be a very tough future ahead for everyone, whether you have a job or you're looking for a job. The economic crisis is literally around the corner, if not already hitting us. But it doesn't mean that it's not all doom and gloom. I'm actually quite optimistic that opportunities will come out of this, and it might not be in the format that people had thought. You mentioned hotel sector. This is a service sector, and there's lots of the service sector that will still operate. So it's about identifying the skills that you have that are transferable. So maybe you've been trained in the hotel industry, but you've got communication, organization, planning skills. Perhaps you've got financial skills. Maybe you've got leadership skills. So when you're applying for that job, and it's maybe a completely different sector, you're in hotel industry and it is a service industry, but you want to move to another industry, look at the common skills that can be transferred, and that's what you put on your CV. You don't say, you know, I've only worked in a hotel. You say, I have hotel experience, and this gives me, and you sell yourself to the recruiter. You sell the skills that they're looking for. And for those that are perhaps students and maybe it's their first job hunt, it's going to be tough. There's not many people hiring right now. And one way to get in the door is to go for unpaid internship or traineeship. I don't think anyone would say no to free resources. Although it's difficult, I know you don't want to sell your soul. I'm not saying that, but it's a foot in the door. It's about making connections. It's about creating relationships. And lots of people that join us as trainees, and maybe they work for 3 or 4 months, and they've finished their studies, and we know how they are. We know how they operate. We know what the attitude is like. We know how willing they are to take on new tasks. So you're already a step ahead in terms of anyone else that applies for a job. So I would say look for internship. If you can get paid, even better. If you can't, then say I would work for free, because it gives you the experience and it gives you something to put on your CV, and it gives you, more importantly, a connection. So if you work for me and you say, I'm going to work for 3 months, can I use you as a reference, Maureen? And I would say, yes, you may. Then your next recruiter can call me and I can give them a blazing reference about this wonderful trainee that we had that worked so hard and accomplished all the tasks that they were given. That's the kind of foot in the door that people are going to need right now. Yeah.
Great. So thanks a lot for this time that you gave to us, and these 9 tips and nice tips, and really I appreciate all these, and I hope that you guys, this will help you. And there's another surprise for Maureen. It means that I think that she will be very helpful for our group. So I will talk, I mean, on behalf of all the group. It means that every week we will have a little meeting with Maureen, and we will. And please send all your questions. So Maureen will be back next week with another great questions regarding HR. And be careful. I think that next time we'll just. I know that there's a lot of managers and supervisors in the group, maybe having some difficulties and some problems. Please send all your comments, and we will adjust them to Maureen. That maybe challenging questions to Maureen.
I'd be happy. Yeah.
Yes, and she'll be ready to
answer. I'll be happy to.
So thanks a lot, Maureen. And
all right, thank you.
So we'll see you next week for another set of questions. Right.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.